February 2nd, 1685. The morning began quietly inside the opulent chambers of Whitehall Palace. Candlelight flickered against gilded walls as servants moved silently through the royal apartments, preparing for another ordinary day. King Charles II, known to history as the Merry Monarch, awoke, expecting nothing unusual. Court rituals, state business, and familiar routines awaited him. There was no sign that this would be the final day of his life. At 54 years old, Charles had already survived what few kings ever did: civil war, exile, political conspiracies. He had outlasted Cromwell's rule and restored the English monarchy to the throne. He was charismatic, clever, and widely admired. His private life was indulgent and unapologetic. Mistresses, illegitimate children, and late-night pleasures earned him both criticism and fame, but not fear. The previous evening, the king had felt unwell, nothing alarming. Just fatigued, discomfort, and restless sleep. He retired, believing rest would restore him by morning. It did not. At around 8 o'clock, Charles sat calmly in his private chamber while his barber shaved him. The room was quiet, routine. Then, without warning, the king cried out. His body stiffened, his face twisted in pain. Moments later he collapsed onto the floor. Violent convulsions seized his limbs. His body shook uncontrollably against the carpet. Foam formed at the corners of his mouth as his eyes rolled back. The barber screamed. Attendants rushed in. England's monarch lay helpless before them. When the seizure finally ended, Charles was barely conscious, confused, weak, struggling to speak. Panic spread through the palace. Messengers were sent at once. Royal physicians were summoned urgently. This was no ordinary illness. Within the hour, 14 of England's most respected doctors crowded into the bedchamber. Educated men, confident men, authorities of 17th century medicine. Leather cases were opened, instruments laid out, centuries of medical tradition stood ready. After a brief examination, one physician delivered the verdict. The king had suffered apoplexy, what we now call a stroke. No debate followed. No alternative explanations were considered. The diagnosis was accepted without question. According to medical belief at the time, illness came from imbalance. The bodies for humors, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile had fallen out of harmony. The doctors agreed on the cause. Charles had too much blood. The solution was immediate. A leather strap was tightened around his arm. A silver basin placed below. A lancet opened the vein. Blood flowed freely. 16 ounces were drained. Then more from the other arm. Within an hour, Charles had lost nearly a quarter of his blood supply. His skin paled. His breathing weakened. His heart raced desperately as his body slipped into shock. To the physicians, this was encouraging. They continued. Glass cups were heated and placed on his back, drawing blood to the surface. Incisions followed. More blood was taken. The king drifted in and out of consciousness. When awake, he begged for water. His thirst was unbearable. Each plea was misunderstood. Each symptom seen as proof that the treatment must continue. Next came purging. Toxic substances were prepared and forced down his throat. Antimony was mixed into wine. The reaction was violent. The king vomited repeatedly as doctors inspected the contents, searching for imaginary poisons. Still, it was not enough. Mercury-based laxatives followed. Hour after hour, day after day. The treatments never stopped. Each intervention weakened him further. Each decision was made with certainty. Each step pushed him closer to death. This was not cruelty in their minds. This was medicine. After 6 days of relentless suffering, Charles II's body could no longer endure. The king who survived war and exile died in his own bedchamber. Not by enemies, not by assassins, but by unquestioned belief. The death of Charles II stands as one of history's most chilling medical failures. A king destroyed not by fate but by certainty, tradition, and absolute confidence in the wrong cure.